Welcome to the Lojo Show. It's all right. I'll get better at it. Should I just say it? There is no monopoly on good ideas when it comes to cybersecurity. Welcome to the Lojo Show. I am your host, Louverture Jones. I am the founder and managing partner at BlackRock Engineering and Technology. I have over 20 years of experience in the cybersecurity, and I am honored to be able to bring some of the experience to you. Today, we're going to talk about ransomware, adding on to what we discussed on our last episode. If you missed our last episode, you should go back and give it a listen. I am joined today by our producer, Jonathan Logan.
Good morning.
Whatever, Jonathan. We just had a discussion about Oscar Mayer.
Oh, I can put it in here.
Hot dogs and Oscar Mayer, bologna and Oscar Mayer, everything, and he didn't know the jingle. So
I can put the little conversation in here. I recorded the whole thing.
That's fine. You can put the conversation in here.
We'll put it in here. Add a little sound effect, and we'll flash back to it.
Does that mean we're ready?
Yeah, whenever you're ready. Yeah.
So we're ready to go.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Right?
Yeah.
No test.
Do you want to do a test?
Is that loud and clear? My baloney has a second name. It's Mayer.
What?
You don't know the Oscar Mayer song?
No.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
If our listeners only knew that the producer of this show does not know what an Oscar Mayer weenie is or an Oscar Mayer bologna.
Well, I know the brand,
Mayer,
but I don't know
the
jingle.
There's a whole jingle song.
The only jingle I ever think of is O'Reilly.
They're gonna ban you from even ever coming to a hot dog truck again.
Why would I go to a hot dog truck?
There's the
Why would
Oscar
I
Mayer
go to a hot dog truck?
There's the Oscar Mayer vehicle too.
Yeah, the wiener wagon.
The wiener wagon.
The wiener wagon.
But it has a first name and a second name.
Oscar Mayer.
And it's Oscar Mayer, but you gotta spell it.
I know the brand, but I don't know that they have a jingle.
But you don't know the jingle.
No, I don't know the jingle. Nope.
Jesus, I'm old. All right.
I know the creditreport.com one. That one's funny.
Freecreditreport.com.
Yeah, do you remember that one?
Yeah.
FREE, that spells free. That was a good one.
You know what? These jingles are pretty good, though. Let you
Oh, yeah, they're made to stick in your brain and torture you
there
for as long as you live.
Well, I mean, the Oscar Mayer one is it's got to be at least 40 some odd years old.
Oh, that's why I don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm over 40. That's true. All right. That's probably off topic. We have to probably do that some other time. Today, we're going to walk through a number of different topics, right? We're going to nail down walking through the minefield of ransomware. This is a discussion that we're going to have regarding ransomware in our lives. That's in our personal lives, in our professional lives, and how that affects the businesses and services, as well as even things like the churches and stuff in our lives. The next thing we'll talk about, too, is really drawing a major piece around how AI is working in your life right now, and that's artificial intelligence and machine learning, how that applies in your life and how it makes it easier. But then we're also going to talk about how it is increasing the capability of malware and ransomware. And in particular, we'll draw to some real use cases like with your autonomous vehicle or self-driving cars. Then we'll go through a couple of things like how can you protect yourself? And this is protect yourself personally. Then we're going to talk about protecting yourself in terms of an organization and corporation. And in addition to that, we'll talk about this as well from a defense standpoint. We have a lot of listeners that are in the defense industry, and so I do want to make sure that you understand where this falls and where you should be thinking. And then from there, one of the things we will go over to is how can we help from a BlackRock standpoint? How can we help you in this area, as well as some of the other companies, businesses, and solution providers out there that have solutions that help you within making decisions and placing the right security resources in order to reduce ransomware attacks and or reduce the blast radius of those attacks on your organization. So let's talk about it in this way first. Why is this happening? Ransomware, why is it so prevalent? Why is it growing? It really comes down to one thing. It is an opportunistic way of hunting for hackers, for hacktivists, for state nations. It's become easier to do it. there are not only organizations, but countries, state nations, and groups that are spreading or that are widespreading training and equipping individuals as well as other groups who have the want as well as the drive to try to use ransomware to their own means. And usually that means money. At the end of the day, it's burglary, right? It's robbery, it's ransom. Pay me so that I give you something that you already had. It's as simple as that. And when it becomes that simple, and then having means like Bitcoin in order to be able to do transference of payments that are no longer within your standard banking and financial transactions across the globe, where there's controls and capabilities in place in order to alleviate that or make it harder to transact. Well, once you have that and someone has a motive, there's plenty of means to do it, and there's plenty of ways to get away with it. So that's why it's so prevalent. It's easy, it's quick, it can now circumvent a lot of the security measures we have, and in addition to that, it's lucrative. So billions of dollars are being lost due to ransomware, and that's what we know of from a reported standpoint. There are a lot of folks that just don't report it and just go ahead and pay the ransom, and that's it. I know. How does that make you feel as a regular, just a regular dude, Jonathan? I mean, how does that make you feel at this point?
Not great. It's yeah, there's ransomware everywhere, and every day you open up your browser or Twitter or whatever, and there's always so and so got hacked, so and so got ransomware, so and so got whatever, and then I usually have to go to that website like Yahoo or what was that other big one that happened recently, T-Mobile, and I have to go change all my passwords and do all that stuff. It's a pain.
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity events in general are becoming more prevalent, and honestly, it used to be such a big thing when we hear it in the news. And you see just the drive rate and just really the listener rate and stuff go up, the subscription rate go up and stuff too whenever you had an attack that was reported, because it was just like, wow, this is what happened. But now it's becoming so much more prevalent that we run the danger of this becoming a normal place in our normal daily existence.
For like attacks are normal is what you're saying?
Yeah, attacks
I mean,
are
honestly,
normal.
they kind of already are.
Yeah,
at
I
this
mean,
point.
it is. It's so normal now where it's just like, we just accept it. And that's where you get a little dangerous. And this is where you find that we are habitually complacent.
Yeah.
Right? We are habitually complacent. In the U.S. especially, I mean, if you think about it in terms of, there's several murders per day in the U.S. and it's just like, well, okay, man, things are getting bad. Well, I got to go to football practice. It's becoming so commonplace. But to me, I think one of the fears that we have, as well as the realities that we have, is that it just means that you're more likely to get affected by it now.
Kind of like identity theft. Like identity theft was like this weird thing no one ever heard about, but now they can take your identity. They can even take your mortgage out from under you, like your the title on your house.
Yep.
Without you even knowing. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's absolutely crazy. In addition to that, if you talk about the fact that they're getting even better and more efficient at these types of crimes and at these types of electronic theft and cybersecurity breaches, and that they're getting a raise every year for being more effective at it.
That's a good way to put it. They're getting a raise.
They're getting a raise.
Yeah, it's true.
They're getting a raise. These criminals, these state nations, I don't care who they are. At the end of the day, I'm just going to call it the bad guys, right?
That works. Bad guy works.
Bad guy works, right?
Bad guy.
That works. But yeah, it's essentially it's being rewarded. You're being rewarded more and more in this case, which means that the deterrent for this is not there, right? The criminal deterrent for this is not there. You rarely actually catch the people that are involved with this, right? You rarely can assign any type of punishments to who are the actors in this. So here you go. You got a crime without a criminal. We know it's there, but we can't find them, right? That's where we are right now. This is where we are, and it's only going to continue to increase. Why did I say that? Well, having an increase in ransomware, that's coinciding really with the surge in remote and hybrid work environments now that we work in in the U.S. because of COVID. But let's not just blame it on COVID. We've been studying for years going in this direction. Companies have been studying in years going in this direction, right? We started with kind of like your BYOD or bring your own device to work type of environments. We started with teleworking and stuff, and that's what we called it, was teleworking. And now we just have it. Now we're like, you know what? Remote work. Forget paying these millions of dollars in rents and stuff in the most high-rated areas in the country. Let's just go ahead and say, you know what? Let's save that money. Let's work from home. People are being more productive, working harder on that, and in some cases, working actually longer hours, right?
Yeah.
But with that comes this, is that the bad guys know that everybody's now relying on that remote work. When we look at things like impersonations and spear phishing attacks, right? More effective ransomware now that are targeting these social platforms, or even these not just social platforms, but also the collaboration sites and platforms. All of these things go up because if you go halfway to a remote work environment, yes, you're going to introduce more vulnerabilities into your environment because you now don't control what network they're coming from. You don't control the endpoint device as you would have if it was coming to your office every day, right? And when you look at even the decentralization of services and support and stuff from there, these are just introductions of other ways to be able to introduce ransomware, malware, and other malicious activity into your environment. And I don't say that to be scary. I don't say that to be I don't say that to try to just create panic or so with that. I say that because it is a reality. It is something that you have to think about as a CIO and a CISO, and in general when you are running a business or a company, or just interacting with the different people that you do on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, being realistic, my home Wi-Fi is not going to be as secure as corporate Wi-Fi. I mean, it's just not.
That is definitely likely. The other likelihood is that you have your house, you have your home Wi-Fi, you have friends, family, or whichever that come over as well, and they go, hey, do you got a Wi-Fi? And you go, yeah, I sure do. Here's the password. Well, all in the meantime, you have your device connected to that Wi-Fi. Right? But the other part is it's not just the device. It's all of the different services and things that you use, right?
Yep, like your Amazon Fire Stick or your Alexa that always listens.
Yeah, you have those that are there. Worst of all, you have, in some cases in my house, right, you have kids who are joining any and everything, downloading any and every application they can, either onto their phones or tablets or their other machines that they have, and it is a constant fight, in the house and stuff regarding, hey, you need to secure that. Wait a minute, don't use that app. Yeah. Hey, I don't want you to use TikTok. Stop that.
TikTok. Right? Oh my gosh.
Right. These are all things that we face right now. Doesn't seem bad, but if we don't have a plan when we look at these things and we don't have an awareness of how we're affected by it, that's trouble for us. And that leads us into the topic about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Let me simplify both of these, okay? Artificial intelligence, we've heard about it, we've seen it. Some of us have been thinking about this since RoboCop, back in the day, RoboCop in Detroit and stuff. And
I do know what that is.
You do know what
I might not know the Oscar
is?
Mayer jingle, but I do know what RoboCop is.
Well, so you had RoboCop, right? And, when you were talking about artificial intelligence and how really AI helps you accomplish things more efficiently, helps you accomplish more because of, one, giving you more direct choices based on the topics and subjects and stuff that you are pursuing there, right? You have AI and things like visual and deep fakes, where you see these recordings of like, let's say, presidents, like you had Donald Trump and some, you had Biden and others, where you're looking at them, they're on the screen and stuff, and it completely looks just like them, right? And they're speaking and saying things where you're like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. And then you find out later that it was all fake, right? That it was a deep fake, right? So that's one instance as far as where we look at like artificial intelligence. The other portion for artificial intelligence is how that is employed in our daily lives as far as for like our cell phones, right? The tools that are there. When we talk about things like um, translators, real-time translation, right? You have headphones now that use artificial intelligence to do real-time translation of any language into English as you listen to it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? The human mind can't do that translation that fast for 8 different languages right off the bat.
Well, I
but
mean-
this thing can.
Well, actually, I know a family that actually know like 10 different languages, and they're all like that. They're freaky though.
That's
They're
cool.
super crazy.
That's cool and all, but here's the
Normal
thing though.
people.
If somebody's just talking and they're translating that for you,
Oh yeah.
I mean, 8 languages at the same time, I don't care how good you are.
Oh yeah. It takes a lot.
You don't have that type of processing power, right? Okay. But we just mentioned about how much and how many things are out there that we're using that have data associated with it. Our phones, our cell phones, our iPhones and stuff, one of the biggest data gatherers ever that are feeding into these gigantic data lakes at this point, in which case you're running different artificial intelligence algorithms and stuff against that. You've got machine learning as well that is sifting through or going through large amounts of info and really making coming to conclusive solution sets that are saying, hey, you're likely to do this. Hey, you're likely to do that, right?
Right, and then
here's the
that's
likely place that you should do this, or here's the likely place that you should do that,
right.
right?
And then like that's where they use AI and like marketing. They take all this data, and then that's when you get targeted ads.
Correct.
Like you can even. That's why people make the joke like, oh, I thought about pizza today, and then I'm getting all these pizza ads. It's
Yep.
like, well, they know you better
Yep.
than you know yourself.
Absolutely. And then, one of the things that's a big help to me these days is Microsoft Viva, right? Microsoft Viva helps me out significantly because it goes ahead and it sifts through all my emails and stuff. And sometimes it shows me where I've made commitments inside of the email that I might not have written down. And it goes, hey, you need to make sure that you follow this. You need to make sure that you respond to these folks. You need to make sure that you put this time away for you to work on this particular item. It's pretty cool. But at the same time, I'm going, holy crap. My life is just a bunch of statistics that have been screened and then turns back to me as recommendations and solution sets, and in some cases can even just drive my behavior in general, right? It understands my behavior and knows what I'm probably going to want, right?
I always think about the Michael Jackson song. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Like that's AI right there.
Yep. Well, one of the creepy things is that I travel a lot, and so when I land and I get back to the airport, my Google Maps will pop up with this thing. It was like, hey, your car is right over here.
Ugh, that is creepy.
I mean, it's.
I don't know if I like that.
It's pretty neat. You are such and such way amounts of distance from your car. You're like, yes. But I would say, okay, I've bought in. I've bought into this. All right, I've bought in. Why is this so important? When we look at how these things just in our consumer lives work, just for our day-to-day living and stuff, one, we become accustomed to the ease that it provides to us.
Yeah.
Two, the convenience that we have, with that. There's some things that just generate a grocery list for me because it just sees what my day-to-day is and how I want to receive my groceries.
Or you can even have
eat
it
my
where
food.
they're in your fridge and it keeps track of the stuff in your fridge.
Yeah.
And sends you a shopping list.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
I've heard of it. I haven't gotten that far yet.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm mechanical everything. I got mechanical doors, my network at home, everything's hardwired. Like, nah.
It's all mechanical. He thinks he's being safe by being a Luddite.
What?
A Luddite.
I've never heard of a Luddite.
Luddite.
Is that an
a
Oscar
person-
Mayer reference?
No, it's a person that does not accept like technology and changes and stuff.
Wouldn't that be
it,
like
so they try
Amish
to
or
stay
something?
Well, yeah. I mean, that is a characteristic that you would use to describe that community as well.
Yeah, no, I still have technology. I just don't certain things I don't trust. I don't like.
Well, we definitely understand, that we each want to absorb this in our different ways. But the reality is that the train has already left the station. We're in a world of artificial intelligence. We're in a world of machine learning. It's going to continue to evolve in that way. And for us as a country to keep up with the rest of the world, are going to have to embrace it. For us to be competitive, we're going to have to embrace it. For us to continue to be a world leader, it is something that's going to continue to progress. This also translates even to our defense, what we do from a defense standpoint. Ransomware, malware, all those things, it's not just us as consumers and companies that are affected. It is our government. It is our national security as well. And so being able to embrace the fact that technology is here, it's going to continue to evolve, and our pace of life is going to get faster and quote unquote more convenient, while at the same time increasing the likelihood of our data being either infiltrated, also in some ways being withheld from us, like with ransomware, and with us having to make the decision of whether to pay a ransom or to report that someone has stolen our data, and we'd like help for that. This is going to continue, and this is where we as a society have to put in the different defenses and mechanisms to do that. Let's look at this from a car analogy standpoint for artificial intelligence and kind of the applicability in this. If we look at our data and information, and let's say we pile this into a car, right? In that car, that data is being taken from place to place to place to place. Everywhere we go, it goes, right? Every place we are, we can get to it, right? But also, every time we access it, we make it so that it can be accessed by other malicious actors. If we access our data from our cell phone, but don't lock our cell phone and leave our cell phone out, there's the physical component of that. Well, somebody can physically get to your data in that way, right? If someone sends us an email and it has a payload that's not going to be caught by any of our endpoint malware or antivirus software or anything like that, but it's just simply executed as code, and it gets to go through either our Google connection or Amazon connection or whichever type of connection we have to whatever cloud or repository where we store information and data. Well, that's where we introduce these things. We have the ability to introduce code wherever. And if that code is also AI enabled, or has the ability to process to that or to reach back and process, as well as to notify the originator of that, well, guess what? Now we've accelerated the speed and capability that someone can gain access to our information, the complexity they can use to also wait and see where else we connect so that they can kind of piggyback, into our work repositories, into more sensitive information. If you're a volunteer or so and you're working with a church or working with another nonprofit, this information can go there as well. And in that case, again, you're piggybacking and bringing ransomware into the organization. As I said, it is not, while it can be complex in the problems that it causes, it is not complex as far as for them getting that there. But then when you add the sophistication of artificial intelligence and machine learning there, now everywhere you go, it is learning. It is picking up on what's going on in its environment, the data that's available that's there, and the activities that you as the individual have on a daily basis, as well as your company, if it begins to compromise that. And so that is where the slippery slope begins. Let's not be rambly. Let's just go ahead and cut to the points on this one, all right? Ransomware, easy to use, quick to get it installed, quick to be able to take over whatever it is you need to, lock it away forever, right? People, more likely to pay now because they don't have to report ransomware. Ransomware and the actors of it can operate under the board, so you can't see payments go out for it. You don't know why payments go out for it, so it's becoming more lucrative for the people that do use ransomware. Artificial intelligence increases the capability of ransomware, increases the capability of the threat actor in that case to say, I'm not going to ransom these folks. I'm going to see where else they take me, right? And so They are able to take advantage of an individual. That individual can take that ransomware to work. That individual can take that ransomware to wherever they volunteer. And guess what? Now you have it spreading. Right? From an AI standpoint, if it is indeed using AI, guess what? That is more information, not only just the data that you have, but you now also have contextual data about where this person goes, what they do, what are some of the patterns and stuff of their life, what are they connecting to, what are the things that are there that we say, hey, here are more targets, right, for ransomware to go to. So it's downstream. It begins with one target, it can become many, many, many targets in that case, and then basically it's like pick the most lucrative target and then begin your ransomware attack. So we talked about, who are some of these actors that are carrying these out last week. I only discussed like 2 of these, right? But there are more. We talked about some of the folks from the former Soviet Republic. So you've got Revil, Evil Corp, Dark Side, right? These are all iconic pranksters and stuff, Greek pranksters that's there. So there's a sense of humor that's there, but it's kind of a sick sense of humor because of what you are actually turning these capabilities and what these organizations are focusing on. When we look at why it is happening, again, it comes down to the fact that when you find something that works and it's being lucrative in this world, in which case it's now at a billions of dollars level as far as ransomware and what's being collected, it's an incentive now to do it. And the other incentive is that you have a very low likelihood of being caught now. And in particular, if we look at it from state actors or hacker groups, or let's say the hacktivist, or even just the, kid that may have the ability or have the technical competency to do this, it's that much more easy to do it now. So AI, artificial intelligence. There's an important part that people, I don't think, quite fully understand about AI. We hear the words artificial intelligence and machine learning now on a daily basis. When you look, and we do a lot of hiring and stuff too here, when you look at resumes and everything, you see the words in the resume quite a bit. And when you really kind of dig down to it as far as on what it is, people have a little bit of awareness about it, but they don't really have an awareness of where it's applicable in their everyday lives right now. Every day, we use our phones, our iPhones, the apps and stuff that are within those. Every day, we are making this huge record of what we do, right? There's this huge record of what we do. We sometimes even click on, as we're installing an app, we click on, hey, yes, you organization, I am giving you permission to use all of my data and info, as well as to have access to my other applications on my phone or even on my laptop or email, so that more and more information is collected. The thing is that artificial intelligence and being able to have decision making that's automated, or to enhance the quickness of us making decisions based on the options that are put before us. These are things that really are accelerating our lives at speed. There are things like, for instance, Microsoft Viva, right? If you've used Microsoft Viva in your emails right now, each day when you get up, it actually has searched through your emails and said, hey, you've made some commitments, and hey, you need to follow up on these commitments on a daily basis. Very useful, but what else can you use these things for, right? When we talk about autonomous vehicles or even driver-assisted vehicles, these are all using artificial intelligence and in some cases, machine learning to do so. Now, we just put some very fancy terms out there, but at the end, if you want to boil it down, if you have a massive all-knowing lake of information, data and stuff, and you can actually cipher through that and sift through that information and point out intelligent markers and intelligent signatures and intelligent perspectives and stuff too from that, you can map that out correctly from an algorithm standpoint that allows you to do more predictive things, or to even say, hey, this person loves heavy metal, but they don't like Guns N' Roses. They'd rather like Rat, right? Or let's pick it up a notch here. It's like, hey, they're not really crazy about Travis Scott, but what they really like is Future, right? You see this in your everyday lives. And so when you take this and then fold it into things like your vehicle, think about all the sensory that you have. The reason why you have to do so much training and driving and stuff of these vehicles is so that you collect more and more data about the roads, about the lines, about the spatial awareness and stuff that's needed with the sensors and everything that they're putting on these cars, right? And what that allows you to do is to more predictively say, this is the right way for this car to go. If they're on this particular road, this is the right way and right speed limit that you should be at, right? These are things that are constantly created. Now, again, applying what we're talking about in things like driver assist or autonomous vehicles, you take that and apply that into our cybersecurity world. Think about yourself now as the driver, or the person that's actually just riding in the car, and all the things that you're leaving up to the car, or in some cases to your computers and technology to make decisions for you. Where you store your information, how you use that information, who are you affiliated with, who do you do business with, what are some of the weaknesses of the things that you do, what are some of your vices and stuff there that can be used against you as well, right? These are all things that are very simple but also complex that allows for our world to accelerate, both in how dangerous it can be for our everyday lives, how ransomware could affect us as far as, one, locking up critical information that we need access to in order to continue our lives. More importantly, too, when we look at what are some of the risks that folks really don't want to be, that folks don't really want to recognize, but they're there. For instance, browsing histories, right? Browsing histories, or let's say in some cases, there may be information and stuff out there that you would not want to go public. So that creates a risk. That also creates an impetus for someone to say, you know what, here's information that we have. We can lock it up for you. We're going to lock it up. And then also, if you don't pay us, we'll release it out to the public. Just that simple, right? What would you pay so that your loved ones don't know these things, right? What would you pay if your brand, or if your person history and personal information is going to be released, right? All the skeletons in your closet out there.
Blackmail.
Yeah, blackmail, all the above. And so this is where we get that new level and new dimension of cybersecurity, and how it is continuing to expand very quickly in terms of what is relevant now, what information is relevant, to folks. It's mind-boggling on how fast this is moving and how fast this is trending. Incidentally, when we look at these types of attacks and stuff too, so cybersecurity, the ransomware attack is actually second, right? And when we take in things like AI and those components there, really the first breach or first capability and stuff that's there that is being used is the email and phishing attacks, right? And remember I said that there's a huge tie between email and phishing attacks. When we look at like MIT's technology review, they have email and phishing attacks at 74%, and then ransomware or other fast-moving cyber attacks, that's at 73%. The interesting characteristic of that is that there's a really close correlation there, right? 74%, 73%. And then let's work our way into the attacks on cloud infrastructure. 68% of breaches include that attacks on cloud infrastructure. So just moving to the cloud does not secure you if you're still following the same processes or same method for how you want to protect your organization. Then there's the insider threats or data leakage, right? And again, when we talk about email and phishing and attacks, right, there's several things. One, You have insider threats that are malicious and knowing, and then you also have insider threats that are incidental as well, where they are making small mistakes. Individuals in your organization are making small mistakes that are actually leading to a larger data leakage. Maybe it's your credentials that have been compromised. Maybe it's something that you've clicked on that has allowed certain either bots or automated scripts or so to be executed unknowing because it's under your particular privilege or under your name. These are things that all kind of build into each other. Now that we talked about how AI can enable ransomware, now it's time to talk about how our platforms for protecting us need to continue to be enhanced and put to work in order to stop AI-enabled ransomware. Artificial intelligence, if you're an organization that's large, that has thousands to millions of transactions, and you have hundreds to thousands of employees and stuff there is no way that you can manually track and manually protect yourself just by putting people in place to do it.
Because AI is too fast.
It's too fast.
Yeah.
It's too fast. The processing power, the amount of data and stuff that can be synthesized and also then organized and used against you or against your organization in that case, it's too fast. The other part is that you have also artificial intelligence that allows it to circumvent the different types of detection capabilities and stuff you might have as an organization, as well as it can change its patterns and stuff too, so that it's looks just like normal everyday business. Everyday transactions, and I'm not talking about just financial transactions, I'm talking about computational transactions and stuff too. Files, how you use data and information, what actually flags as a potentially suspicious activity. You can circumvent that using artificial intelligence. So if you're an organization and you haven't implemented or integrated components for being able to review, synthesize your logs as well as user behavior in this case, or normal behavior on your network, you've already fallen behind. You're already behind. And so, yeah, your call to action on this is get the help that you need. There are some very fabulous companies out there right now who are leading away in this industry and in this area. You have areas like Darktrace, you have got CrowdStrike, you have Armis, right? You have Nozomi, you have all of these different types of companies and organizations that have built these capabilities from an AI standpoint. And I will say the industry has just been very, very slow in adopting these and putting them into their networks and putting them into their computation, also integrating it with their cloud environments to be actually successful in defending themselves in this. So if you feel that way right now as a company that, look, we haven't made the right investment, if you're even questioning that, there's a likelihood you haven't made the right investment yet. So this is where your call to action is to make that decision, make the decision to protect yourself, because that's it. I mean, you're the only one that can really protect yourself. We've got plenty of means out there as far as for here's what the framework is for doing this. You've got NIST. NIST has a framework for doing that. But I would say that the solution companies that are out there right now and that you see, I mean, you can Google it right now and you can see the solutions, the leaders and stuff in this area. Call them. Have the discussion. Don't sit there and think that you know everything. Call the folks, see what they can do. Allow them to do the pilots. Put the pilots in place. Find out how effective it is. Decide whether you're going to buy it or not. Every single one of these companies do pilots for you. They will do a pilot for you in a heartbeat. You just got to be willing to go, yes, do the pilot, take the time, experiment with yourself, see if it works for you from there, get the outcome, and do, even if you need to do trade studies and runoffs for it. So there's no excuse.
Analysis.
Absolutely.
All that jazz.
Go ahead and get it done. And if you find that you've gotten into this $300,000 and all you got is a PowerPoint, you're doing it all wrong. Period.
Especially if you don't do anything after the PowerPoint.
Oh gosh, there you go. If you don't do anything after getting the $200,000 or $300,000 PowerPoint, it's likely that you're not being the most effective that you can be in your job.
Follow through.
Yep, follow through. I guess one of the things that that we continue to get from clients is, how do you know if you are protecting yourself? Oh, a long time ago, we came up with this, with this term of, risk management, right? Initially, risk management was applied to business concepts, right? Risk management as far as on delivery, supply chain, right? Risk management as far as in accounting, which accounting system or which type of accounting do we want to do, right? What's the premise of those? Now we've also applied it to, cybersecurity as well as to our daily lives. Well, there is no way to know that you are 100% protected, right? Especially if you're a large organization. The key to this is that there are ways to evaluate yourself as being protected. And I can tell you, our company, as well as companies I've worked with in the past, have made a lot of money doing assessments for companies. The problem is that there are a lot of assessments and there is way too little action given after the assessment. Even if the vulnerabilities and risk are clear as day, something happens when it comes down to, look, we need to put this technology in place in order to protect ourselves from this type of problem that could be a $100 million problem. If you look at an organization and say, okay, yeah, it doesn't make sense. If you are a $2 million organization, it does not make sense to put $800,000 worth of security in place. It really doesn't, all right? If you are a $500 million organization, does it make sense to secure yourself, right? Looking at both the tools, your people, the risk that's in the industry, the risk as well that you discover in some of your different penetration tests and stuff. Doesn't it make sense to act faster because of how fast you can be compromised now? It makes sense. But again, this is where new lines of thinking have to come into play. I would say that my younger CTOs, CIOs, as well as technology leaders in organizations, they have a very good understanding of this risk, right? Those who have been raised in this environment, those who have been a software engineer or so in here and understand really the code aspect of malware, ransomware, other attacks. Back in the day, we used to have rootkits. We would speak a lot about rootkits. But have an understanding of what is the premise of these types of attacks, what is really the functionality that's being exploited, and then from there realizing what the impacts could be. All right. So to you folks that have to evaluate this, if you look at your organization and say, we're fine, that's already a problem. You can't just say you're fine. One of the hardest things as an advisor, when I'm advising as far as at the CIO or CTO level or CISO level, one of the things that I find is most complicated is really breaking down the barrier of everybody wants to know more than the other person, right? Breaking that barrier down is probably the hardest thing because we're all professionals in this industry, right? We're all professionals, and that means that at some point we feel like that we are the best. That's how we compete, right? That's how we position ourselves for the positions that we're in. But unfortunately, what that can and does create at times is a leading of saying, well, I'm right, you're wrong, or I know everything, but I'm not going to let you see everything so that you can't report that. This is a fallacy that's within our industry right now, right? Where you may have some very talented people, but at the same time, if you remember and go back to my, to the intro for the Lojo show, I said, there is no monopoly on good ideas. And I will tell you right now, I get just as much or just as many ideas from my clients as they do from me. And sometimes even more if you take the aggregate of the clients. Because this world moves so quickly, things like picking the right or picking the right solution and stuff that's going to work for your organization, right? Those are complex. Those are complex questions. What's going to work right for your organization, right? Is the information so important in your organization that you do need the latest and greatest in AI-enabled anti-malware and ransomware type technology? Does your organization need really to put in network access control, or at the endpoint, control all the endpoints to the organization and make sure that they're managed, right? Having the right information available to say, can we go to a bring your own device environment? And the other one and this is where coronavirus really kind of forced us to think differently as a world, is, hey, most people are not going to be working from your internal network anymore, right? Majority of your people are now working from home. They're VPNing in, or they have a direct connect or a link to your cloud, your cloud infrastructure, and they're coming in that way. Right. But at the same time, there's also now external situations, in this case, and that is working from home. You've got many people working there at the house or so. It's very easy at times for things to happen. Like, hey, I accidentally plugged the USB drive into my dad's laptop, right? Oops. Dad doesn't know about it, and then later on the dad finds out, but he finds out in a different way. It's corporate security folks coming after him saying, hey, you plugged in a USB that was not authorized to be plugged in there. So these little challenges now are exacerbated, whereas it used to be, hey, we can go into that shell and be safe inside of that. Now this expansion also has us thinking differently about security. How do you make sure that, one, you segment your environment appropriately, and that's virtually, in that case. How do you control access to critical applications to only the people that need them? And in addition to that, how do you protect the organization from the accidental introduction of malware and ransomware into the org? And again, this is where your technology has to meet technology. And it's a hard topic because it can get expensive, but at the same time, how expensive is that technology if it's going to protect millions of dollars of possible court fees, insurance increases as well from cybersecurity insurance, and most of all, fines. And let's talk about that a little bit too. It used to be that if you're managing information and stuff for your client or customer, there was a certain amount of level of material loss and stuff that you would have to prove in order to say, hey, I'd like to sue this organization that was supposed to protect my information. Some of those boundaries are being removed now, where you are now more responsible. If you are holding third-party information for clients and customers and stuff, you are definitely more culpable now. Like, you can have your internal breaches and lose some of your own internal stuff, but most organizations in some way, shape, or form are also holding client information. And why? For the same thing. Again, you're collecting data. You are digitally transforming these organizations and making this one big interconnected environment. So you may be holding significant amounts of information about your customers, the people that make up your customers, right? And in addition to that, critical information that would be really something that is material loss in the future, that would allow a company to say that, hey, look, there's damages, right? We expect to be compensated for these damages from that. And this is becoming more and more prevalent as well, because some of these are being removed. Laws are starting to evolve because really what's the first thing that you try to do in order to protect people? You put laws and regulations in place, even if those laws and regulations are kind of disconnected from what can be the possible. Initially, that's what goes in place. So again, when looking at how you protect yourself, make decisions about your IT, make decisions about how you give and receive information and data. These are things that you have to be cognizant of in order to get to a point where you are living in a more secure manner, and that you do have secure practices. That's all for this episode of The Lojo Show. We talked about walking through the minefield of ransomware. What does AI and machine learning have to do with ransomware? We talked about AI applicability to stopping and or managing ransomware. And then last, we talked about how do you know if you are protecting yourself and how can we help? BlackRock Engineering and Technology, we provide a number of different assessments, integration, as well as perspective and stuff too on some of the most complex type of security areas. Whether we're talking IoT, if we're talking things like vehicle or other engineering solutions and communications and how those will work and how do they work securely, we have those types of professionals that can provide that information and provide really leadership in discovering solutions, integrating those solutions, and then also continuously monitoring those areas there. Before we go, I wanted to remind everyone that this month is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. If you follow our social media, you can get some great info on how to be cyber smart. Find resources for you or your end users' education and awareness. If you want to come on the show, you can send us a message on any social media platform or on our website at www.blackingetech.com. With that, we will say goodbye. Have a great week. Stay safe and stay secure.